Close the door, we're done here.
What's happening up there?
Something's wrong. This is my seat. Seat 3A. Please look at the pass. She's holding the ticket. Step into the aisle now. My boarding pass is valid. You're creating a security issue. No, I'm asking you to verify. She said verify. Read it. I said move. Please verify the seat. Security risk. Hey, listen carefully. You are interfering with a federal matter.
Don't threaten me.
Remove her. That was a warning.
Ma'am, step forward.
That's her. That's her.
Look at the pass. Keep your hands visible. Don't get involved. This is wrong.
Boarding compromised. Witness exposed. Immediate response required. What did she say?
Take the phone. Wait.
Federal officers.
The slap cracked through the silent cabin just as the jet door was closing. A black woman in a plain green hoodie stood frozen beside seat 3A, while the senior flight attendant pointed toward the aisle and called her a security risk. Why did no one believe the boarding pass in her hand? Why did the crew ignore the calm warning that they were interfering with a federal matter? Passengers lowered their eyes as airport officers moved closer. Then the woman whispered 6 words into her phone, and the flight deck suddenly went still. Minutes later, federal agents were running down the jet bridge. Stay to the end, because the badge they saw was only the beginning. The first federal officer through the door raised one hand. Remove the restraints. Marcus Bell stopped behind Naomi, one palm between her shoulder blades. The cuff on her right wrist pinched when she breathed. Coffee and rain-damp coats crowded the cabin. Lila Mercer blocked seat 3A. She struck a crew member and refused instructions. The officer did not look at her. Mr. Bell, now. The final boarding tone sounded, then cut off. Marcus unlocked one cuff but kept hold of Naomi's elbow. I need confirmation of authority. A second officer entered carrying a silver case. She counted the rows and fixed her eyes on a man in the rear. Row 12 is occupied, she said. Naomi turned slightly. Keep it that way. Lila heard her. You don't give orders on my aircraft. Naomi's phone lay near the seat rail. An incoming call lit the carpet. Camilla calling. She watched it vibrate beyond her reach. Across the aisle, a passenger folded his newspaper over the scene. 3 rows back, a young woman held her phone low, its red dot reflected in the window. Release her, the officer repeated. Marcus opened the second cuff. Metal clicked. Naomi rubbed the pale line around one wrist. Lila pointed toward the door. She is being removed. We have a schedule. No one leaves, the woman with the silver case said. No luggage moves. No record is altered. Grant Keller gripped the interphone. What exactly is this? The woman looked at Naomi. Naomi's gaze moved to row 12, then to the black leather case beneath 3A. Its tamper strip was intact. Close neither door, she said. Touch nothing. The engines hummed under the floor. Blue taxiway lights blurred through rain. The captain's voice crackled overhead. Cabin crew, confirm boarding status. Grant lifted the interphone, but Lila caught his wrist. Not until they identify themselves. The officer faced her. You were warned this passenger required verification. I checked her boarding pass. No, Naomi said. You decided what it should say. Lila's mouth tightened. Who are you? A printer clicked inside the galley. One page slid out, warm and curling. Grant pulled it free. At the top was Naomi's seat number. Below it was a security designation that had not been there minutes earlier. Lila, Grant whispered. She reached for the page. The woman took it first and sealed it in a clear sleeve. Naomi's phone stopped ringing. 42 minutes earlier, no one had been looking at her. Naomi stood at gate C14 with a paper cup warming both hands and her hood against her neck. The windows shook whenever a jet pushed away. Wet rubber and cinnamon pastry mixed in the cool air. Her boarding pass read 3A. She checked the time, 5:28 p.m. Across the gate, a narrow-shouldered man in a gray coat turned a blue pen 3 times between his fingers. He never looked directly at her. Naomi sipped the bitter coffee, folded the pass once, and slipped it beside a creased auditorium ticket bearing her daughter's name. At the podium, Lila leaned towards a ground supervisor and nodded at an elegantly dressed passenger near the priority lane. "Seat 3A?" the supervisor murmured. "It will be available," Lila said. Then she looked across the gate and saw Naomi watching. 6:10 a.m. October air drifted through the cracked kitchen window as Naomi Reed buttoned the cuff of a plain gray shirt. The coffee had gone lukewarm before she remembered to take another sip. Her apartment was quiet except for the steady hum of the refrigerator and the soft vibration of her phone against the wooden counter. A message appeared. "Dad would have laughed at your alarm clock." Naomi smiled without answering immediately. She tapped the voice message instead. "Mom, don't panic if you're late tonight," Camilla said with a laugh that quickly faded. "The final round starts at 7. I know how your job works." Naomi rested one hand on the counter. The silence after those words lasted longer than the sentence itself. "I'll be there," she replied. "First row." "You've said that before." "I know." Another pause. "I mean it this time." She slipped a cream-colored admission pass into her wallet. Camilla Reed, National Law Advocacy Final. The paper was already bent at one corner from being checked twice before sunrise. A sharp knock interrupted the moment. Victor Hale, 46, stood outside wearing a dark windbreaker instead of a suit. His silver hair was still damp from the rain, and he carried a plain document envelope under one arm. "You packed light," he said as Naomi opened the door. "I won't be gone long." "Let's keep it that way." Neither mentioned the operation until they reached the elevator. The fluorescent light flickered once above them. Inside the parking garage, cool concrete air carried the smell of rain and engine oil. Victor handed her the envelope. "Read it now." Naomi scanned only the first page. "Protected witness. Commercial flight. Maintain civilian appearance. Direct contact prohibited unless emergency protocol is activated." She folded the papers with practiced precision. "How unstable is the situation?" she asked. Victor looked across the garage before answering. "We don't know." "That's not what I asked." "We know someone has been monitoring passenger manifests. We don't know who." She nodded once. "The witness?" "Already checked in." Naomi closed the envelope. "I'll recognize him." "You should." Victor reached into his pocket and placed a small laminated card on the roof of the car. "If the operation collapses, use only the level 6 phrase. Nothing else over the phone." She memorized the line without picking up the card. "What if I never need it?" "I hope you don't." Rain tapped gently across the windshield during the drive toward Bellwether International Airport. Morning traffic rolled slowly beneath gray clouds. Naomi loosened her watch one notch, then looked again at the folded admission pass inside her wallet. Victor noticed. "You promised her." "I did." "You shouldn't." "I already have." He let out a quiet breath. "That's always been your weakness." "No," Naomi answered softly. "It's the reason I still know why this work matters." They stopped outside the departures entrance. Victor lifted her carry-on onto the sidewalk. "No badge unless absolutely necessary. No names. No improvising." Naomi gave a faint smile. You've been saying the same 3 rules for 12 years. And you're still alive because you keep listening. She closed the car door. Cold wind swept across the terminal entrance, carrying the distant roar of departing aircraft. Travelers hurried past with rolling luggage, automatic doors opening and closing in steady rhythm. Naomi adjusted the strap of her worn bag, touched the folded pass in her wallet one last time, and disappeared into the crowd, unaware that someone inside the terminal had already begun changing the records for Seat 3A. The departure board clicked from on time to boarding as Naomi stepped into Gate C14 with her hood lowered and one hand wrapped around a paper coffee cup. The terminal smelled of roasted beans, wet pavement, and fresh printer paper. Boarding announcements echoed against the high glass ceiling, while suitcase wheels rattled across polished tiles. She stopped beside a charging station without looking toward row 12. A man in a gray coat sat there already. Omar Ellis, 33, kept a blue notebook closed on his knee. His dark hair was neatly trimmed, his tie slightly crooked, as if he had fixed it in a hurry. Without lifting his head, he rolled a blue pen between his fingers exactly 3 times. Naomi walked past him. "The weather finally cleared," she said quietly. Omar answered without looking at her. "For people flying east." Nothing else. The coded exchange lasted less than 4 seconds. Naomi continued toward the priority lane and unfolded her boarding pass only when she reached the scanner. The green light flashed immediately. "Welcome aboard," the gate agent said. Before Naomi could step forward, Lila Mercer glanced at the screen. "Seat 3A?" "That's correct." Lila's smile appeared polite, but never reached her eyes. "I'll double-check something before you board." Naomi nodded once. "I can wait." Behind them, an older businessman sighed dramatically. A family shifted 2 rolling suitcases aside. Someone dropped a metal water bottle, and it rolled across the floor with a sharp, hollow sound. Lila stepped toward Dana Holt, the ground operations supervisor, standing beside a service podium. Dana lowered her voice. "That's the passenger." "So it seems. 3A is supposed to stay available. The manifest disagrees." Donna folded her arms. "Leave it with me." Naomi pretended to study the departure monitors while every word settled into place. She did not move closer. She simply watched the reflection in the terminal glass. Across the seating area, Omar adjusted the blue notebook by less than an inch. Another signal. He had heard enough. Boarding resumed. Priority passengers first. A sharply dressed traveler approached the lane carrying an expensive leather briefcase. Lila greeted him warmly. "We'll have your preferred seat ready, sir." He smiled. "I appreciate people who solve problems." Naomi heard the sentence without turning around. Her own boarding pass remained between 2 fingers. A young woman with a compact camera hanging from one shoulder settled near the windows. She wore a denim jacket, curly brown hair tied loosely behind her neck, and continuously observed people instead of her phone. She noticed Naomi. Then she noticed Lila. The camera stayed in her bag, but her attention never drifted. When Naomi finally reached the aircraft door, warm cabin air replaced the cool draft from the jet bridge. The scent of brewed coffee mixed with recycled air and new upholstery. Lila checked the boarding pass once more. "You certainly travel light. I've learned to." "Business? You could call it that." Lila handed the pass back. "Enjoy your flight." Naomi thanked her and stepped inside. She found seat 3A exactly where it belonged. Her black leather carry-on slid beneath the seat until the tamper seal faced inward. She rested one hand briefly on the bag before fastening her seatbelt. 3 rows behind, Omar entered without acknowledging her. He counted silently as he walked. 8, 9, 10, 11. Row 12. He sat down, opened the blue notebook, and wrote only the current time. At the front of the cabin, Lila leaned toward Grant Keller and whispered something too quietly for passengers to hear. Grant glanced at seat 3A. Then he reached for the cabin tablet and frowned at whatever had just appeared on its screen. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as the last passengers settled into their seats. Outside, thin streams of rain crawled across the oval windows, turning the blue taxiway lights into blurred ribbons. The overhead bins clicked shut one after another, and somewhere near the rear galley, a coffee pot rattled against its holder. Grant Keller studied the cabin tablet again. His eyebrows drew together. "Lila," he murmured. 3A just changed. She took the device from his hands. The boarding record now showed a yellow warning banner beside Naomi Reed's seat assignment. The words were brief. "Seat requires verification." Lila looked toward Naomi, then back to the screen. "Interesting." Grant lowered his voice. "It wasn't there 2 minutes ago. No one will question it if we fix it before departure." Naomi quietly folded the safety card and returned it to the seat pocket exactly where she had found it. Her leather case remained beneath her feet, the tamper seal untouched. Lila stopped beside her row. "Ma'am." Naomi looked up. "Yes?" "I'm afraid there's been a seating issue. My boarding pass scanned without a problem." "I'm sure it did." Lila smiled politely. "But I need you to move to row 27. Naomi glanced once toward the rear of the aircraft. From there, Omar would disappear behind dozens of passengers. "I'll stay here." "The assignment has changed." "When?" Lila hesitated for the smallest fraction of a second. "Just now." Naomi extended her boarding pass. "Please compare it with your system." Lila accepted the paper, but barely looked at it. "The computer has priority." Grant stepped beside her. "We'd appreciate your cooperation." Naomi remained seated. "I'd appreciate verification." The words were calm, almost conversational. Several nearby passengers lifted their eyes from their phones. A businessman in seat 2C quietly removed one earbud. Across the aisle, an elderly woman stopped knitting. Lila tapped the tablet again. "The warning remains." "What warning?" Naomi asked. "I don't have to discuss internal procedures." "You don't," Naomi replied. "But you do need a factual reason to relocate a ticketed passenger." Grant shifted his weight. "We're trying to avoid delaying everyone." "So am I." The silence stretched just long enough for the cabin to notice. Near row 12, Omar kept his eyes on an airline magazine. Only the slow movement of his thumb against the page betrayed that he had heard every word. Lila straightened. "Stand up, please." "I won't interfere with boarding." "This isn't optional." Naomi lowered one hand toward the leather case beneath the seat. "I also need my carry-on to remain exactly where it is." Lila frowned. "We'll move it." "No. It belongs in the overhead compartment." "It stays here." "Why?" "It contains government property." Lila folded her arms. "Do you have documentation?" "I do." "Then show me." Naomi met her eyes. "Not in the middle of the aisle." Grant exhaled sharply. "This is becoming unnecessary." Naomi answered quietly. "It doesn't have to." A gate agent stepped through the aircraft door carrying a handheld scanner. "Lila," she called. "Dana wants an update." Without taking her eyes off Naomi, Lila replied, "Tell her seat 3A is still occupied." The gate agent blinked. It was assigned. "Not for much longer." She disappeared back onto the jet bridge. The businessman in 2C leaned toward his wife. "She has a valid boarding pass," he whispered. His wife pressed a finger against his arm. "Don't get involved." Naomi heard them, but said nothing. The cool air from the overhead vent brushed across her face. She adjusted it slightly, then rested both hands on her knees. Grant glanced once more at the tablet. The yellow banner had vanished. Only the original boarding record remained. Seat 3A, confirmed. He looked up, confused. Lila. Before he could finish, her headset crackled. Dinah Holt's voice came through, low and urgent. Whatever the screen says now, remove her before that aircraft door closes. Lila pressed 2 fingers to her headset. Understood. Grant heard it. So did Naomi. What did Dana say? He asked. Lila stepped into the aisle. Ma'am, this is your final opportunity to move. Naomi kept both hands on her knees. Cold air whispered from the vent. My seat is confirmed. That is no longer the issue. What is? Lila raised her voice. You boarded under questionable circumstances, refused instructions, and are obstructing departure. A spoon clinked near the galley. State the factual basis, Naomi said. I don't debate procedure. You do if you're creating a record. Grant lifted the tablet. The warning disappeared. Not now. The businessman in 2C folded his newspaper until it hid his face. The elderly woman lowered her knitting, but kept her eyes on the yarn. Lila held up Naomi's pass. This may have been issued in error. It scanned green. Errors happen. So do assumptions. Tessa Ward slid her phone from her bag and leaned it against a water bottle. The lens faced 3A. Grant noticed. No recording. Why? Tessa asked. Passenger privacy. Naomi said, keep the original file. Lila's mouth tightened. Are you directing passengers now? I'm preserving what is happening. You're escalating it. The final boarding call echoed outside. Lila leaned closer. People like you create scenes, then blame everyone else for the delay. Naomi's jaw tightened once. She reached for her boarding pass, but Lila pulled it away. Return my document. You'll get it when you leave. I'm not leaving. A man in row 4 spoke. She hasn't done anything. His companion tugged his sleeve. Sit back, Grant said. The man obeyed. Eyes dropped. Screens brightened. The vents hummed louder. Lila tapped the interphone. Gate, we have a non-compliant passenger in premium cabin. Request removal. Grant stared at her. You're calling security? She refused. She asked for verification. She refused. Naomi bent and checked the black case beneath her seat. The tamper strip remained flat. Do not touch that bag. What's inside? Lila asked. Material you are not authorized to handle. That sounds like a threat. It's a boundary. Dana's clipped voice came through. Security is on the way. Omar turned the blue pen 3 times. He opened his notebook and wrote 5:41 p.m. beside one word. Escalation. Tessa adjusted her phone so the red light vanished behind the bottle. Lila saw the movement. Hand me that device. No, Tessa said. Her voice shook, but the word held. Grant stepped between them. Enough. Don't involve another passenger. Lila pointed at Naomi. She involved everyone when she decided the rules didn't apply to her. Naomi stood, not to leave, but to block Lila's reach toward the bag. Warm cabin light met gray rain light across her face. Sit down, Lila ordered. You told me to stand. Several passengers looked up. Grant's certainty slipped. Heavy footsteps sounded on the jet bridge. Lila smoothed her uniform and lifted her chin. Good. Now they can see who the problem is. Naomi glanced at the doorway, then at Tessa's hidden phone. No, she said quietly. Now they can see who writes the first version. The first airport security officer stepped onto the aircraft just as the cabin door remained open against the rain. "Who requested assistance?" he asked. Lila raised her hand before anyone else could speak. "I did. This passenger refused lawful crew instructions, disrupted boarding, and may be carrying unidentified restricted material." Every eye shifted toward the black leather case beneath Naomi's seat. The officer looked at her. "Ma'am, please step into the aisle." Naomi stood without hesitation. "I will." She left the bag exactly where it was. The officer noticed. "Bring your luggage." "No." Lila gave a short, humorless laugh. "You see?" Naomi kept her voice even. "That bag remains where it is until its chain of custody is verified." The second officer frowned. "Chain of custody?" "It is not personal luggage." Lila folded her arms. She has repeated that several times without showing any proof. Naomi met the officer's eyes. "I can provide documentation to the appropriate authority, not in front of 200 passengers." Behind them, someone cleared a throat. Another passenger quietly silenced a ringing phone. The smell of fresh coffee drifted from the galley, while cool air continued pouring from the overhead vents. Grant shifted uneasily. "She never raised her voice." Lila turned toward him. "She refused to comply. She requested verification. That isn't the issue anymore." "It should be." The senior officer crouched beside seat 3A and examined the leather case without touching it. A narrow red tamper seal stretched across the zipper. He stood again. "Who packed this?" "I cannot answer that here," Naomi replied. "You're making this more difficult." "No," she said. "I'm trying to keep several people from making a larger mistake." Silence spread farther than her words. 3 rows back, Omar Ellis slowly closed his blue notebook. His fingers rested on the cover just long enough to hide the page where he had recorded every minute since boarding. Tessa kept filming from behind the water bottle. The officer noticed the phone. "You recording?" "Yes." "Keep recording," Naomi said quietly. Lila spun toward her. "You don't direct witnesses." "I didn't." "You just did." Naomi didn't answer. Instead, she looked briefly toward row 12. Omar understood. He removed his boarding pass from his jacket pocket and slipped a folded business card beneath it before placing both inside the seat pocket ahead of him. Another precaution. Another breadcrumb. The interphone crackled. "Captain?" Grant answered. A muffled voice replied. "How much longer?" Grant hesitated. "I don't know." The captain's response came instantly. "We're losing our departure slot." Lila seized the moment. "You hear that? Every passenger here is waiting because one person refuses to cooperate." A few people nodded. Many looked away. The businessman in row 2 stared through the rain-covered window instead of at Naomi. The elderly woman quietly placed her unfinished knitting into her bag. No one spoke. The security officer finally stepped closer. "Ma'am, until we sort this out, I'm asking you to leave the aircraft voluntarily." Naomi looked once at the leather case, then at the passengers who had watched the confrontation unfold in complete silence. "I'll step off the aircraft," she said, "but that bag stays exactly where it is." Lila reached toward the handle. "I'll move it myself." Naomi's calm expression changed for the first time. "Don't." One word. Nothing louder than the hum of the ventilation system. Yet it stopped Lila's hand in midair. Only for a second. Then she reached forward again. Lila's fingers closed around the handle. Naomi placed one hand over the strap before the bag left the carpet. "Let go," Lila said. "No." Rain hissed against the aircraft skin. The senior officer stepped closer. "Release the bag." Naomi kept her palm flat. "Ask her why she ignored the seal." Lila glanced at the red strip. It means nothing to me. That is the problem. Dinah's voice burst through Lila's headset. Get her off now. We are out of time. So this is about the schedule, Naomi said. It is about compliance. Tessa's phone stayed hidden behind the water bottle, its lens fixed on Lila's hand. Both of you, step back, the officer ordered. Naomi withdrew first. Lila yanked the bag upward. The strap caught beneath the seat rail, jerking her shoulder. She turned on Naomi. Stop interfering. I stepped back. You think you control this cabin? No, I think you've stopped controlling yourself. For 1 second, nothing moved. Then Lila slapped her. The sound cracked across the cabin. A plastic cup slipped from a teenage passenger's hand and struck the floor. Ice rolled beneath the seats. No one bent to pick it up. Naomi's head turned. She remained upright, hands open. Grant whispered, Lila. She grabbed me, Lila said. No, Tessa answered. She lifted the phone from behind the bottle, fingers trembling. She didn't touch you, Lila pointed. Give me that. No. You are violating crew instructions. I'm preserving evidence. The officer moved between them. Put the phone away. Will you preserve it? Tessa asked. He did not answer. Naomi faced forward. Heat spread across her cheek. Do not erase that recording. Lila moved toward Tessa. Naomi shifted half a step into the aisle, blocking her path. Sit down, the officer ordered. You asked me to stand. Now I'm asking you to sit. There is nowhere to sit while she holds my seat and my bag. Grant checked the tablet. Seat 3A is still confirmed. Lila spun toward him. Whose side are you on? The records. The second officer reached for Naomi's wrist. Turn around. For what reason? Failure to comply. With which instruction? He hesitated. Lila answered. She threatened crew, resisted removal, and caused physical contact. Tessa raised the phone. That isn't what happened. Stop talking, Lila said. The businessman in 2C lowered his newspaper. The elderly woman's knitting bag remained open. A man in row 4 stared at melting ice around his shoes. Naomi looked at the senior officer. You have a witness and a recording. I have an active disturbance. You have a choice. Beyond the door, Dana stood on the jet bridge with a hand to her headset. Marcus, she called. Remove the passenger. Marcus Bell. He reached for her arm. Naomi did not pull away. Before you do that, she said, look beneath seat 3A. A slim black wallet had fallen beside the rail. Its cover had opened enough to show the edge of a gold federal seal. Lila saw it. She pushed it deeper beneath the seat with her shoe. Nothing there. Tessa's camera caught that too. Marcus placed Naomi's hands behind her back. Cold metal closed around one wrist. From row 12 came the soft click of Omar's blue pen breaking. Cold steel settled around Naomi's left wrist before Marcus Bell secured the second cuff. The metal felt colder than the air pouring from the overhead vents. She neither resisted nor lowered her head. Easy, Marcus said, almost to himself. I am, Naomi replied. Lila straightened her uniform and smoothed a loose strand of hair behind one ear. Finally. Grant stared at the broken blue pen lying near row 12. Marcus, he said carefully, I think we should slow down. We're already late, Lila answered before Marcus could speak. Outside the open aircraft door, rain tapped against the jet bridge windows in a steady rhythm. A baggage cart rolled past with a squeal that echoed into the cabin. Marcus guided Naomi one step into the aisle. Do you have identification? I do. Where? Under seat 3A. Lila answered immediately. We already checked. Naomi looked at her. No, you made sure no one would. Marcus glanced toward the seat. The black wallet still rested beneath the rail, almost completely hidden by the shadow of the cushion. Before he could move, Lila stepped in front of him. "The priority is removing the passenger." "The priority," Naomi said quietly, "depends on what you believe this is." Tessa's phone never wavered. She whispered without taking her eyes off the screen. "It's still recording." Across the cabin, passengers avoided looking directly at Naomi. The businessman in 2C stared through the rain-covered window. The elderly woman slowly folded her knitting into a cloth bag. A flight attendant in the rear galley stood frozen with a tray of unopened water bottles. Only Omar moved. He closed his notebook. The snapped blue pen remained between the pages. His fingers slipped into the inside pocket of his gray coat, where a small emergency card waited beneath his boarding pass. He read the printed instruction, only once. Level 6. Use only if compromised. He took out his phone beneath the cover of the tray table. One message. No names. No explanation. Only 6 predetermined words. Boarding compromised. Witness exposed. Immediate response required. He pressed send. The message disappeared. No confirmation. No sound. He slid the phone away before anyone noticed. Marcus gently guided Naomi toward the aircraft door. "I'm giving you every opportunity to cooperate." "I know. Then help me understand." "I can't explain here." "Why?" "Because the person you're trying to protect doesn't know you're protecting him." Marcus frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means every unnecessary sentence makes someone else's job harder." Lila let out a sharp breath. There she goes again, speaking in riddles. Naomi ignored her. As they reached the doorway, her phone vibrated on the carpet beside seat 3A. Its screen lit the aisle. Camilla calling. For a second, even Marcus looked down. Naomi stopped walking. "May I answer?" "No," Lila said. Marcus hesitated. "It'll take 5 seconds." "No," Lila repeated more firmly. She lost that privilege. The phone rang until the screen went dark. A heartbeat later, another notification appeared. Missed call. Camilla. Naomi closed her eyes for only an instant. When she opened them, the aircraft suddenly fell silent. Not because anyone had spoken, because every engine sound was drowned out by heavy footsteps racing up the jet bridge. Someone outside shouted, "Federal officers, hold that aircraft!" The footsteps reached the aircraft door before anyone inside could react. "Federal officers, nobody moves." The command cut through the cabin louder than the rain drumming against the jet bridge windows. Marcus Bell instinctively stepped aside while 2 agents entered in dark jackets, badges already visible. Victor Hale's eyes found Naomi first. "Remove the cuffs." Lila lifted her chin. "She assaulted a crew member." Victor never looked at her. "I said remove the cuffs." Marcus hesitated only a moment before unlocking the first bracelet. The sharp click echoed through the silent cabin. Naomi rubbed the pale mark on her wrist, but stayed exactly where she was. A second agent, Elena Park, scanned the rows with practiced precision. "Row 12 secure?" Omar closed his notebook. "Yes." "Remain seated until instructed." Only then did several passengers realize the quiet man in the gray coat had never been an ordinary traveler. Lila folded her arms. "I need to know who is taking control of my aircraft." Victor turned slowly. "You'll receive full identification after the protected witness is secured." "Protected? What?" Naomi bent, retrieved the black wallet from beneath seat 3A, and opened it just long enough for Marcus to see the federal credentials inside. His face lost its color. "You tried to tell me." "I tried to slow everyone down." Marcus lowered his eyes. I should have checked. You still can, Naomi answered calmly. Start with the boarding records. Elena knelt beside the black leather case. She examined the intact red tamper seal without touching it. Seal confirmed. Naomi nodded. Maintain chain of custody. Across the aisle, Tessa's phone remained raised. Victor noticed. Did you record everything? From the moment she was ordered out of her seat. Don't delete it. I wasn't planning to. Grant took one uncertain step forward. The warning on seat 3A disappeared before security arrived. Victor looked directly at him. It disappeared because it was never legitimate, Lila interrupted. The system flagged her. No, Naomi said quietly. Someone used the system. The words settled over the cabin heavier than the silence that followed. Outside, airport vehicles stopped beside the aircraft. Blue emergency lights reflected across the rain-soaked windows without flashing into panic. Elena escorted Omar from row 12. Several passengers stared as he walked past them, clutching the blue notebook. The businessman in seat 2C whispered, "He was the reason." "No," Naomi replied without turning. "He was the responsibility." Victor accepted a sealed evidence envelope from Elena and secured Naomi's leather case inside another protective container. "No unauthorized handling," he said. Marcus stepped toward Naomi. "I owe you an apology. You owe the truth your full report." He gave a single nod. "I'll write exactly what happened." Lila's confidence finally cracked. "You can't seriously believe her over your own crew." Victor faced her for the first time. "We're not relying on belief." He looked toward Tessa. "We have video." He looked at Grant. "We have electronic logs." Finally, he looked at Marcus. "And now we'll have an honest statement." Lila's eyes shifted toward the cabin tablet resting on the service cart. For just an instant, she took a step in its direction. Naomi noticed before anyone else. "Don't let anyone touch that tablet." Every federal agent turned at once. Victor moved first. He lifted the cabin tablet from the cart and handed it to Elena. "Airplane mode. Photograph the screen before touching anything." Elena pulled on gloves and held it beneath the overhead light. The glass showed seat 3A, Naomi's name, and a normal green confirmation where the yellow warning had been. Grant stared. That banner was there. "When?" Victor asked. "Minutes before security boarded." "Who had access?" Grant looked at Lila. Her face hardened. "You're making this sound criminal." "No one used that word," Naomi said. Tessa lowered her phone only when Elena approached. "I need the original file," Elena told her. "Not a copy sent through an app." "Will I get it back?" "Yes, after we preserve the metadata." Tessa's thumb hovered over the screen. "You won't cut out the part where nobody helped her?" "No." Tessa unlocked the phone. Near the door, Marcus opened a fresh incident form. His fingers stalled above the first field. "Start time?" 5:37, Grant said. 5:34, Tessa corrected. "That's when they first ordered her out." Marcus changed the entry. Naomi stepped beside 3A and picked up her phone. Camilla's missed call still filled the screen. A message waited beneath it. "They're announcing finalists now. I saved your seat anyway." Naomi called. Applause and scraping chairs filled the speaker. "Mom? I'm here." "You're not." Naomi rested one hand on the cold window frame. "I know." A door closed on Camilla's end. "What happened?" "I can't explain yet." "You always say that." Naomi looked at the creased admission pass in her wallet. "I won't ask you to understand tonight." Camilla breathed sharply. "My round starts in 4 minutes." "I know. Are you safe?" Naomi glanced at the red marks around her wrists. "Yes." The answer came too late. Call me when you can tell the truth. The line ended. The dark screen reflected her face. Victor stopped beside her. You should go. The witness moves first. He's secure. Then preserve the records. You don't have to supervise every step. No, she said, pocketing the phone. But no one gets to rewrite what happened. At the galley, Elena sealed the tablet in a clear sleeve. Another agent photographed the printer and gate log. Grant pointed to the receipt slot. It printed a revised passenger note. Where is it? He looked at Lila. I threw away scrap paper, she said. Victor opened the galley trash bin. Coffee grounds, damp napkins, and a curled strip of paper lay inside. Elena lifted it with forceps. At the top was Naomi's seat number. Below it, a manual security designation carried Dana Holt's employee code. Lila's lips parted, but no sound came. Outside the door, Donna turned and walked quickly down the jet bridge. Marcus saw her first. Supervisor Holt is leaving. Victor pointed to the nearest agent. Stop her. Preserve her phone. The agent ran. Nachoam. Grant sank onto the jump seat, elbows on his knees. Tessa watched her recording transfer into evidence storage. Naomi looked once at Camilla's message, then toward the terminal. Victor. Dana had reached the glass doors. Someone on the other side was already holding them open for her. The agent reached the glass doors as Dana Holt slipped through them. Federal officer, stop. Dana froze with one hand on the metal bar. Travelers beyond her slowed to watch. I'm going to operations, Dana said. You're staying here. Inside the aircraft, Elena placed the curled paper beside the sealed tablet. Manual code, she said, entered at 5:31 p.m. Grant stared at the timestamp. That was before Lila spoke to her. Victor turned. Who can create that flag? Ground operations. Cabin staff can request one, not enter it. Lila answered too quickly. I never asked for that. Naomi stood beside 3A. You told Dana the seat should be available. That isn't a security request. No, Naomi said. It's a motive. The printer clicked again. A second page emerged, listing recent overrides tied to Dana's employee number. Elena pulled it free with gloved fingers. 1 week, 9 passengers. Victor read the notes. Disruptive demeanor, document irregularity, unverified payment source. Those are subjective. They were enough to remove people, Naomi said. Marcus stepped closer with his report form. I recognized 2 dates. Security escorted both passengers out. Charges? Victor asked. None. Prohibited items? No. At the jet bridge doors, Donna's phone buzzed in the agent's hand. Don't answer that, she said. He looked at the screen. Lila Mercer. Inside, Lila's phone was hidden beneath a folded service jacket. Victor held out his hand. Give it to me. I don't have it. Tessa pointed toward the shelf. Under the jacket. Grant lifted the fabric. The phone glowed with an unanswered outgoing call. Why contact Dana after officers boarded? Victor asked. I needed to understand what was happening. You were 3 feet from the people explaining it. Elena opened the system log on a forensic reader. Text filled the screen. Naomi's seat was valid. Dana inserted the flag, removed it, then restored the original after security entered the jet bridge. Marcus rubbed the edge of his clipboard. So she deleted it. Not deleted, Naomi said. Hidden. Systems remember. Near the galley, Omar clutched the blue notebook. I've seen that code before. Victor turned. Where? In expense files. Same 3 letters beside compensation vouchers for passengers removed from oversold flights. Naomi's gaze sharpened. How many? 37 that I copied. maybe more. Rain rattled against the fuselage. Cold air moved down the aisle from the open door. Lila sat on the jump seat. That doesn't prove bias. No one said it did, Naomi replied. It proves a pattern. Elena printed the override list. The same code appeared beside every removed passenger. Marcus looked at Naomi. What happens now? You write what you saw. Grant preserves every crew message. Tessa keeps the original file. Dana's access is frozen. And Lila? Naomi looked toward the open door, where Dana stood between two officers, her face doubled in the wet glass. She answers after the records do. Elena scrolled farther down the log and stopped. There's another user. Victor leaned over her shoulder. The account had opened Naomi's file before dawn, hours before she reached the airport. The conference room overlooked the same rain-dark runway, but the engines were only a distant rumble now. White fluorescent lights reflected across the polished table where sealed evidence envelopes, printed system logs, and Tessa's phone rested side by side. An independent review panel had assembled before midnight. Leah Morrow, 50, the commission's counsel, adjusted her glasses and looked around the room. This is a fact-finding hearing. Speak only about what you personally saw. No one objected. Tessa sat nearest the screen. She kept both hands wrapped around a paper cup that had long gone cold. Leah nodded to her. Begin wherever you believe the situation changed. Tessa took a slow breath. It changed when she didn't argue. Several people looked up. I've filmed travel documentaries for years, she continued. Most people who want attention become louder. She became quieter. That made me start recording. The room remained still, except for the soft buzz of the projector. You never heard her threaten anyone? No. Did she strike a crew member? No. Why didn't you intervene? Tessa lowered her eyes to the untouched coffee. I thought someone else would. The answer lingered longer than any prepared statement. Across the table, Grant Keller rubbed a perfectly flat sheet of paper with his fingertips again and again, smoothing wrinkles that did not exist. Leah turned toward him. You stated earlier that seat 3A showed as confirmed. It did. Then why didn't you stop the removal? Grant swallowed. I kept telling myself the system knew more than I did. And when the system changed, I convinced myself there had to be a reason. He looked toward Naomi for the first time. There wasn't. Naomi said nothing. She simply folded the corner of a legal pad, then unfolded it again. Leah placed another document in front of Grant. This message from Dana Holt instructed the crew to remove the passenger regardless of the display. Did you receive it? Yes. Did you question it? I started to. What stopped you? Grant stared at his own reflection in the tabletop. I didn't want to be the person delaying the flight. Silence settled over the room. Outside, a service vehicle rolled past, its amber lights sliding across the wet glass. Camilla quietly entered through the rear door and took the last empty chair. She carried the same cream-colored program from the debate final, its edge slightly bent from being held too tightly. Naomi noticed her, but did not interrupt the hearing. Leah continued. Ms. Reed, do you wish to add anything? Naomi shook her head. The records, the video, and the witnesses already speak. Camilla looked at the faint marks that still circled her mother's wrists. She had imagined anger, explanations, perhaps even triumph. Instead, she saw her mother straighten the stack of documents so every edge aligned perfectly. Nothing more. Leah closed the folder. Then, this panel has enough to proceed. As the projector shut down, Elena quietly approached Victor with a freshly printed forensic report. The unknown account wasn't external. she whispered. "It belongs to someone inside the airline's security administration." The forensic report landed on the table with a dry slap. Victor pointed to the access line. "Who owns the account?" "Elijah Voss, 48, Deputy Director of Airline Security," Elena said. "He opened Naomi's protected profile at 4:52 a.m. and marked it for manual handling." Grant stopped smoothing the blank sheet. Leah removed her glasses. Did he know who she was? He knew the record was restricted. Naomi studied the timestamp. He knew enough to stay out of it. Rain drew silver lines down the windows. The projector fan clicked as it cooled. "Freeze his access," Naomi said. "Preserve every message." By 2:15 a.m., operations had become an evidence room. Dana's phone, Lila's messages, the tablet, and the curled security printout sat in numbered bags beneath white lights. The air smelled of toner and burnt coffee. Dana stood beside a metal chair while Elena read the preservation order. "You altered passenger data to free a premium seat, then restored the record after security arrived." "I followed an executive request." "Whose?" Dana said nothing. Elena placed a recovered message on the table. "Handle 3. Locally. No delay." Dana tried to fasten the top button of her coat. Her fingers missed twice. In the adjoining room, Lila held her folded uniform jacket across her knees. An airline attorney entered, slid an envelope toward her, and remained standing. "Effective immediately." Lila read the first line and removed her badge. She tried twice to drop it into the envelope. The metal edge caught on the paper each time. "I made one mistake." "You struck a passenger, signed an inaccurate report, and tried to conceal evidence. She wouldn't obey me." From the doorway, Grant said, "That isn't the same thing." Lila looked at him as if he had changed sides. He held his own suspension notice. "I saw the valid seat," he said. "I let the schedule matter more." Her lips parted, but nothing followed. At dawn, reporters gathered behind the terminal's glass wall. Camera lights glared across the wet pavement. A director handed Naomi a prepared statement. "Federal agent humiliated in mid-air incident." Naomi returned it. "That is not what happened. It's the strongest framing. It makes this about my title. You are the title." "No." Naomi watched travelers queue beneath the departure board. "The story is what would have happened if I didn't have one." "So no interview?" "No interview." Victor met her near the restricted elevator. "Omar leaves in 12 minutes. Then we move." "You haven't slept." "Neither has he." They crossed a service corridor where wet soles squeaked. Omar waited beside a secure van, the blue notebook under one arm. The broken pen remained clipped to its cover. "They found the account?" he asked. "Yes." "Does that make me safer?" "It makes the map clearer." He nodded once. As Victor opened the van, Elena hurried from the loading bay with a sealed printout. "Voss is gone. His office is empty, his work phone was wiped, and his car left the airport at 1:47. Naomi looked toward the gray morning. "Send the alert." Omar tightened his grip on the notebook. "And me?" "You testify on schedule." The van doors closed, leaving the cameras behind. The van disappeared into the gray morning while Naomi remained beneath the loading bay awning, rain ticking from the metal roof into a clogged drain. Victor held out a paper cup. "Drink." "It's cold." "So are you." She took it anyway. Burnt coffee coated her tongue. "And Lila?" Victor asked. "She answers too." "That isn't what I meant." Naomi flattened the cup's sleeve. "I'm not building this around revenge." By noon, the airline's conference room smelled of carpet cleaner and hot electronics. Leah Morrow sat beside Federal Inspector Irene Solis while 3 attorneys aligned folders. A silver-haired executive began. "We're prepared to compensate Agent Reed privately." Naomi returned the document. "No. The amount is substantial. So is the pattern. This involved a few employees." Irene slid the override list across the table. 37 removals. 9 in 1 week. Editable labels. No independent review. The executive's pen stopped clicking. Naomi said, "A crew member cannot turn an impression into a security fact. What are you proposing?" 2 confirmations before removal. 1 from the crew, 1 from an independent ground supervisor who cannot see ticket class or status. That could delay departures. "A delayed flight can recover," Naomi said. "A false record follows a person." Leah added, "Every edit remains visible. No disappearing flags." Irene tapped another page. "Gate scans, cabin video, and crew messages are preserved after any removal request." One attorney leaned forward. "You're asking us to rebuild several systems." "Yes." Cold air lifted the settlement's corner. "And training?" the executive asked. "De-escalation, documentation, passenger dignity, not a slideshow people skip. What do you want the protocol called?" "The Naomi Reed Passenger Protection Reform." Camilla's missed call flashed in her memory. Naomi uncapped a black pen and drew 1 line through her own name. Beneath it, she wrote, "Passenger Dignity Protocol. This cannot depend on who I turned out to be," she said. 3 weeks later, training began at Bellwether International. Grant sat in the 2nd row without his badge. Marcus Bell took notes by the door. Tessa's recording, faces blurred, played on a screen. The image froze just before the slap. Irene asked, "What is the first failure?" A supervisor answered, "The altered flag." "No." Another said, "Ignoring the valid seat." "No." Grant raised his hand. The first failure was deciding she looked wrong before the system said anything. No one moved. At the rear table, Lila's empty chair remained unclaimed. Naomi watched through the glass partition. Victor joined her. Quarterly public reports were approved. Removal reasons included, and outcomes, charges, refunds, complaints. Good. You could take the win. Naomi watched Marcus rewind the video to the instant every witness lowered their eyes. This is the win. Her phone vibrated. A message from Camilla appeared above a photograph of a small auditorium. "Speaking next month. 1st row. Don't promise. Just come." Naomi saved the image and opened her calendar. For the first time in years, she blocked the entire day. 4 months later, Omar Ellis sat beneath the seal of a federal hearing room with the blue notebook open before him. The broken pen was still clipped to its cover. Did the passenger removal codes conceal unauthorized access to protected records? Leah Morrow asked. Yes, Omar said. They made ordinary prejudice look like procedure. He identified 37 altered cases, then placed the notebook into evidence. Naomi watched from the 2nd row, hands folded over the same black leather case that had once sat beneath seat 3A. When Omar passed her afterward, he touched the notebook's empty place under his arm. "I slept last night," he said. "Keep doing that," Naomi replied. The wider inquiry reached Elijah Voss 2 weeks later. Investigators recovered backups from a server he believed had been erased. He resigned before the disciplinary board met, but the resignation did not stop the obstruction case. Dana Holt lost her supervisory post and entered a cooperation agreement requiring full disclosure of every manual override she had approved. Lila Mercer's dismissal was upheld after the cabin video and false report were reviewed together. Grant Keller completed de-escalation training returned in a non-supervisory role, and began each new crew briefing by asking who had authority to verify a removal. Marcus Bell stayed with airport security. On his desk, beside the incident form he had rewritten 3 times, he kept a card bearing 2 words: "Check first." Tessa's original recording was never released in full. She allowed a blurred excerpt to be used in training, but refused payment for interviews. Instead, she sent Naomi a still frame from the cabin. Passengers looking down, the red recording light reflected in the window. On the back, she wrote, "I looked up too late." By spring, the passenger dignity protocol covered every hub in the airline's network. Removal requests now required 2 independent confirmations. Security labels could no longer be erased, only corrected with an explanation. Quarterly reports listed every removal, the reason given, and the final outcome. The first report showed a sharp drop in undocumented behavior concerns. The empty language had finally become visible. At 6:42 p.m. on a warm April evening, Naomi entered a small auditorium carrying no case, no radio, and no unread messages. Camilla was already behind the curtain, preparing to deliver her first public argument as a licensed attorney. An usher checked Naomi's new ticket. "First row, center." "I know," she said. The chair was waiting. Naomi sat and drew the old cream-colored admission pass from her wallet. The fold was soft now, the date nearly rubbed away. She laid it beside the new ticket on her knee. When Camilla stepped to the podium, she searched the room once. Her shoulders lowered when she found her mother. Afterward, they walked beneath budding trees while evening traffic moved beyond the courthouse lawn. "You came early," Camilla said. "I did." "You didn't promise." Naomi looked at the 2 tickets in her hand. "No." Camilla linked their arms. Behind them, the auditorium lights went dark 1 row at a time. The first chair remained warm. Have you ever watched someone's dignity questioned because others decided who they were before checking the facts? Share your experience in the comments, especially if a witness, a recording, or one quiet decision changed what happened next. Pass this story to someone who believes fairness should not depend on a uniform, a ticket, a title, or the courage to reveal a hidden credential. Stories like this matter because silence can protect a bad system, while careful truth can begin to change it. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, accountability, and the people who push institutions to do better without losing themselves in the process. And remember the first chair. Sometimes showing up is not a grand gesture. Sometimes it is how trust begins to return